photos and videos, this one included, cannot fully prepare you for just how beautiful Venice really is. Characterised by its enchanting canals and graceful gondolas, grand architecture and colourful houses, bustling squares and tiny back streets, Italy's floating city is a truly unique destination. In this video, we'll show you how we spent 3.5 days in Venice to help give you ideas for your own trip. I will say now that you can't see everything the city has to offer in just 3 days. But it is long enough to visit a number of attractions while also giving you time to relax on a square or by the water, sample the local food and drink, or simply wander the maze-like streets, soaking it all in. To help you make the most of your time in Venice, I'll also add useful tips throughout the video and provide any extra practical information you'll need at the end of the itinerary. Finally, I've created a map of all the attractions I mention in this video, and I've added it to the description below. After dropping our luggage at our hotel, we started our trip with the best way to truly fall in love with Venice, and that is to simply walk around the streets. No matter where you walk, it will feel like every time you turn a corner, you're greeted by yet another pretty street, tiny bridge, or picturesque square. So I say just pick a direction and off you go. There are 6 districts on the historic central island of Venice. We eventually found ourselves in Cannaregio, which is the northernmost district. When compared to areas like San Marco, the Cannaregio district didn't feel that busy, at least for Venice. While exploring the old streets adorned with shuttered windows and washing lines is an enjoyable activity in its own right, I have a couple of suggestions of things you could look out for as you walk. The Jewish ghetto in Venice, which was founded in 1516, is thought to be the oldest of its kind in Europe. Rulers of the city confined Jews to a small island in the Cannaregio district. During the day, they were allowed to trade and do business, but at night they were forced to remain within the ghetto gates. The Jews weren't given their freedom until the 18th century. If you want to learn more about the history and culture of Venetian Jews, then you can visit the small Jewish museum or book yourself on a guided tour. Among the multitude of squares you'll come across, one you should look out for is Campo de' Mori. Although it might not stand out immediately, it does have a rather peculiar story. Around the square you'll see the statues of 3 merchant brothers. Legend has it that they tried to scam an old Venetian woman who figured out their plan and cursed the brothers, turning them into stone. They still stand here today as a cautionary tale to all. While you're in the Cannaregio district, squeeze your way down Calle Varisco. At only 53 centimetres wide, this is the narrowest street in Venice. If you don't make it to Calle Varisco or you just can't find it, then there are other super narrow streets in Venice for you to look out for. We barely scratched the surface of this neighbourhood, and in retrospect, we think we would have liked to have spent a full day there. However, walking around the Cannaregio was a perfect start to our Venice trip. We broke up our exploring with a food and drink stop along the Fondamenta Misericordia, a canal lined with cafes, bars and restaurants. It was here that we had our first spritz of more than I'm going to admit on the internet. A spritz is a really popular drink that you will find everywhere in Venice. It's made of Prosecco, soda water and bitter, and then usually garnished with either a slice of orange or an olive. You order your spritz based on which bitter you would like. The ones we saw most commonly offered were Aperol, Campari and Select, with Select being the local aperitif. From most to least bitter tasting, it goes Campari, Select and then Aperol. We also ordered our first and definitely not last cicchetti of the holiday. Cicchetti are small bites of food, often consisting of things like crostinis, which are small pieces of toasted bread served with a variety of possible different toppings. A couple that we were told were among the most common in Venice were the sardines in onion and vinegar sauce and the creamed cod. If you don't like seafood though, then don't worry, you'll find plenty of delicious meat and vegetarian options on offer too. We also tried polpette, which were small fried balls of meat or fish. You'll find other types of cicchetti on offer, but these were probably the sorts of things that we saw the most often. Typically you order cicchetti at the bar and then eat either inside or outside, with some places having tables for you to sit and others you would stand outside the bar. It would usually cost around €2 an item, although there could be some variation. You'll find bars selling cicchetti all over the city, but the ones we tried that were our favourites were Baccaro e Bricco, which I've probably mispronounced, which was on the Fondamenta Misericordia, and Osteria El Squero in the Dorsoduro district, an area that we'll be visiting later in this video. An added bonus of this last one is that, as well as the fantastic food, if you eat outside you will also have the perfect view over a gondola repair boatyard while you enjoy your cicchetti and spritz. A word of warning though, when we ate there they gave us napkins to cover our cicchetti to protect it from the nearby seagulls. However, when I went to take a bite of salmon crostini, this little bastard swooped in from nowhere and snatched the salmon clear off the top, leaving me with just a dry piece of bread. It was equally annoying and impressive, so keep your eyes peeled for these seagulls. There are other types of budget options for food that you can grab without visiting a sit-down restaurant, but I'll cover those at the end of this video. For day 2, which was our first full day in Venice, we plan to visit a few of the major sites. Of the whopping 400 bridges sprinkled throughout Venice, there is one that everybody aims to see: Rialto Bridge. There are 4 bridges spanning Venice's Grand Canal, and the intricately designed Rialto Bridge is the oldest one. It does get really busy. We got there around 9 AM and there were plenty of people on the bridge already. From Rialto Bridge you can stand and watch a multitude of different boats glide down the Grand Canal. That's the sound of the fire brigade. The historical centre of Venice is of course completely car-free, and that includes the emergency services. What you're about to see is what it's like when the fire brigade needs to get somewhere in Venice, and why if an emergency boat passes you and you're sat minding your own business on the steps by the canal, you need to move quickly unless you want a soaking. Close by is the buzzing Rialto Market. If you're self-catered in Venice and want to pick up some fish, fruit and veggies, herbs or spices, or you simply enjoy the atmosphere of a lively market, then make sure you get here early. From here we went to Library Acqua Alta, which according to Google Maps was an 11-minute walk away. However, a tip I would give you is to take any estimated walking time in Google and double it. Navigating the area can be challenging even if you're using a map. We discovered that our GPS occasionally became disorientated, making it difficult to pinpoint our exact location. You will also find yourself repeatedly stopping whenever you turn a corner and you're met by another idyllic canal, tiny bridge or beautiful square. And believe me, that will happen a lot. While you might find this unusual bookshop on lists of Venice hidden gems, the word now seems to be very much out on this place, so don't expect to be browsing alone. The reason this bookshop is so special is they stack their mountains of new and used books in bathtubs, barrels, rowboats, and even a gondola to protect them from flooding. As well as looking through the huge array of books, You can also climb a staircase made entirely of books, or sit in a gondola tied up at the back of the store. Our next stop was the Church of San Zaccaria, which is a 6-minute walk away, so a 12-minute walk in Venice time. The Gothic Renaissance church is dedicated to Saint Zaccaria, who was the father of Saint John the Baptist. While the beautiful church is free to enter, for just €3 you can visit the crypt, which has been permanently flooded by canal water. Walk along the raised brick pathway and see the columns, tombs and vaulted ceiling, all mirrored in the standing water. During our visit, we found ourselves completely alone in the crypt, surrounded by utter silence, occasionally interrupted only by the sound of dripping water. The atmosphere was almost eerie, which actually added to the experience. One of the only activities that we booked in advance of our trip was the secret itineraries tour of Doge's Palace. From the 8th to the 18th century, the Doge, or Duke, was the highest official of the Republic of Venice. Over this 1,000-year time frame, there were 120 Doges of Venice. The palace would be the elected Doge's residence and the place from where they governed Venice. On the tour, you'll hear about some of the history of Doge's Palace and see parts of the building that you would otherwise miss, like the attic, the torture chamber, and Casanova's prison cell. Hearing the story of the legendary Casanova's imprisonment and escape was probably the part of the tour that I enjoyed the most. The tour was 1 hour and 15 minutes. It only runs a few times a day in either Italian, English or French, so I would recommend booking in advance to get a tour in a language that you understand. After the tour, you're then free to explore the rest of Doge's Palace at your own pace. The power and wealth that Venice had is clear as you walk through this impressive building. Don't miss walking through the prison cells or crossing the Bridge of Sighs. The Bridge of Sighs was built to connect Doge's Palace with the prison. The bridge supposedly got its name from the convicted criminals who would sigh as they crossed it, taking in their last view of Venice before being locked away in the dark cells of the prison. Even if you don't visit Doge's Palace, you can still view the Bridge of Sighs from the ground below. I'd recommend leaving yourself at least another 2 hours for exploring the palace, so really, Doge's Palace plus the secret itineraries tour is a good half-day visit. Next up was the famous St. Mark's Basilica. You aren't allowed to take photos or videos inside the basilica, although admittedly you will see people doing it anyway, so you'll just have to believe me when I say the inside is absolutely stunning. The walls are covered in huge mosaics made with real gold. To visit St. Mark's Basilica, we booked a skip-the-line ticket directly on the website. We just went for the entrance to the basilica, but there are other options available if you want to add on extras like the museum. You can just show up if you like, but the waits do get really long, so I would try and plan ahead if I were you. Alternatively, there are guided tours available if you would like to learn more about the basilica. You can also book skip-the-line tickets or join another long queue to go up the Campanile. A lift takes you 323 feet to the top of the bell tower, where you will have amazing views of Venice and the lagoon. We actually had another viewpoint in mind for a little later in the trip, so didn't go up the Campanile ourselves. The next day we took ourselves on a DIY day trip of some of the nearby islands of Venice, Burano, Torcello, Mesorbo and Murano. This is a very popular activity for visitors to Venice, and while you can do this as part of a guided tour, if you would like to see how to visit the lagoon islands at your own pace, then keep watching. We started by catching the Vaporetto out to Burano Island. The Vaporetto is basically a water bus and a great option for getting around Venice if you don't want to walk or pay for a water taxi, as well as a convenient way to visit the nearby islands on a budget. I'll explain more about using the Vaporetto during the practical information section at the end of this video. To reach Burano, we caught the Line 12 from Fondamenti Nova Stand A. Although the journey was around 45 minutes, it was really pleasant. As we caught the Vaporetto before 9 o'clock in the morning, there was plenty of space to sit if you wanted, although we chose to stand along the edge and enjoy the views across the water. Some Vaporettos have a few open-air seats at the front or back of the boat. We managed to snag these on a different journey, and I would say they are the best spot to be on the Vaporetto. Burano is a small island known for its colourful houses. Pinks, blues, greens, yellows, walking the rainbow streets instantly makes you feel happy. Legend has it that these joyful houses were all painted in such bright colours to help the fishermen navigate their way back home in the thick fog. The most well-known of all of these houses is Bepi's house. Unlike the other houses that are painted just one colour, Bepi's is covered in multicoloured geometric shapes. Burano is also known for making the coveted Venetian lace. To learn more, you can visit the small lace museum. Alternatively, you can browse or buy this intricate lace from one of the tiny shops. A tip is to visit this store. I'll put the name on the screen now, because towards the back of the shop they have a small but fascinating free exhibition of their lace collection, showcasing pieces that are hundreds of years old. I don't know if it's not very well advertised and people just don't know it's there, because when we visited we were the only ones looking around the exhibition. At some point you're bound to come across the main square. Once you're here, there are a couple of things that you might want to look out for. A 6th century Istrian well, a statue of the famous local composer Garuppi, and Burano's very own Leaning Tower. Burano is a small island, so you'll probably only spend about an hour or two walking around. As we arrived at 9:30, the island was initially very quiet. By lunchtime, parts of Burano felt quite busy, although you didn't really need to try very hard to find quieter but still equally beautiful spots on the island. After spending the morning exploring, we crossed the long footbridge from Burano to the neighbouring island of Mazzorbo. We walked through a sleepy vineyard to Trattoria alla Maddalena, a seafood restaurant that we were hoping to try for lunch. Unfortunately, although we arrived as soon as the restaurant opened, it was already fully booked. I wanted to mention it because the restaurant comes highly recommended for its reasonably priced, high quality and locally sourced seafood dishes. After our lunch fail, we picked a restaurant back on Burano at random. While it hadn't been our first choice of places to eat, we did really enjoy our clam pasta and fish of the day. The service here was friendly and the waiter told me that the delicious glass of Prosecco I ordered was made specifically for that restaurant, so all in all it was a good spontaneous lunch decision. From Burano we caught the Vaporetto the short distance to the tranquil island of Torcello. Once you arrive you can follow the canal for just 10 minutes until you reach a square. Here you'll find the Byzantine Church of Santa Fosca and Torcello Cathedral, which is the oldest building in the Venetian lagoon. For €5 you can go inside the 7th century cathedral and see the Byzantine mosaics, or you could purchase a ticket to just go up the bell tower. Unlike the Campanile at St Mark's Basilica, there is no lift to the top. However, most of the climb is on a ramp rather than stairs, so it's actually not bad. The views from the top across the farmland and surrounding water are absolutely worth it. There was something really calming about standing quietly and looking out over Torcello. After Torcello, we caught the now very busy Vaporetto to Murano, an island known for its centuries-old tradition of glassmaking. Here you could visit a glassmaking workshop and see the process of live glass blowing and glassmaking firsthand. I'll admit, by the time we got to Murano, we were getting pretty tired and didn't really give the island the time it deserved. We mainly ended up just strolling along the canal, stopping by a few of the shops to admire the beautiful glass before catching the Vaporetto back to the city. On our final day, we started the morning with a gondola ride. We had and ahed about whether to do this on our trip to Venice. On one hand, gondolas are an iconic symbol of Venice, and taking a relaxing ride on one of these traditional boats gives you the opportunity to see Venice from another perspective. On the other hand though, it's €80 for 30 minutes, and that's if you go during the day. In the evening, the price goes up to €100 for 35 minutes. These prices are per boat rather than per person, which does make it better value if there's a group of you, but there is no denying that this is expensive. In the end, we decided, hey, you only live once, we could get hit by a Vaporetto tomorrow, let's do the gondola ride. You can catch a gondola from many different places around the city, with the gondoliers taking you on different routes depending on where you start from. We caught our gondola from the San Polo side of the Grand Canal, not too far from the Rialto Bridge. This gave us a good mix of some time on the Grand Canal, but most of the ride being spent floating down the small, quieter canals. Our gondola ride was really relaxing, plus we did like that the gondolier pointed out different sights along the way. However, I don't think you should feel as though you have to do a gondola ride just because you're in Venice. It's a unique and enjoyable activity, but if you don't want to spend the €80, then personally I don't think you're really missing out, and you can still get out and explore tiny canals and back streets on foot. From here we took a stroll through the San Marco area towards the Vaporetto stop, just east of Doge's Palace. On our way we passed the Palazzo Contarini del Bovolo. One of the reasons you might want to visit this 14th century palace is to see the amazing spiral staircase. From here we took a short break in the Royal Gardens. Despite being tucked right next to St. Mark's Square, these gardens were surprisingly calm and quiet. Because they are only very small, I wouldn't say that they're worth going out of your way for. But if you're in need of a break from the massive crowds at St. Mark's, or you fancy a sit down in the shade, then these pretty gardens could be just what you need. Our next stop was a quick Vaporetto ride over to San Giorgio Maggiore. The church itself is free to enter, but for €8 you could take a lift to the top of the bell tower, where you will have beautiful views over St. Mark's Square, the Grand Canal, and the surrounding lagoon islands. With fewer crowds and lower costs, this is a great alternative to St. Mark's Campanile. We continued our day in Dorsoduro, a large neighbourhood to the southwest of San Marco. In Dorsoduro you can visit one of many churches, museums or art galleries. If you like modern art, then it's here that you'll find the renowned Peggy Guggenheim collection. We found our way to Accademia Bridge, which connects the San Marco area with the Accademia Gallery in Dorsoduro. While this wooden bridge may not be as famous as the Rialto Bridge, I personally found the views from there to be just as beautiful, if not better. You might recognise this vantage point as you'll often see photos of Venice taken from here, looking down the Grand Canal towards the dome of Santa Maria della Salute. Santa Maria della Salute is free to enter and worth adding to your itinerary. This grand basilica was built in 1630 to commemorate the end of a devastating plague outbreak which killed around 1/3 of the population of Venice. Inside the basilica, 8 chapels surround the airy, spacious centre. Admire the geometric marble floor and gaze up at a tall domed ceiling. That night we headed to Campo Santa Margarita, a large popular square lined with plenty of bars and cafes that was located conveniently close to our hotel. €3 for a delicious glass of Prosecco while sitting at a little outdoor table watching the world go by was the perfect end to our trip. The largest and closest airport to Venice is Marco Polo Airport. There are a few ways to reach Venice from the airport: bus, taxi, Vaporetto, or one of the awesome-looking water taxis. The best way to travel will mainly depend on the location of your accommodation and, of course, your budget. As the historic area of Venice is car-free, overland transport can't take you further than Piazza La Roma, so bus or car taxi might not be the best option for you unless you're staying near this area, as you will either need to catch another form of transport on from there or navigate your luggage over many bridges. As we were staying just a few minutes walk away, we caught the bus. There were two bus companies, ATVO and ACTV. The ATVO ones are dedicated airport coaches with plenty of luggage storage, whereas ACTV are city buses. We just bought our tickets in the airport at an automated ticket machine, although there was also a ticket office in the arrivals hall. Now let's talk about catching the Vaporetto. It costs €9.50 for a single journey up to 75 minutes. If you're going to use the Vaporetto multiple times, then it might be worth you buying a pass. They are available for 1, 2, 3 or 7 days. You don't buy your ticket on the Vaporetto itself, so make sure you buy it before you board. If you do go for a multi-day pass, it's useful to know that the ticket does not activate until you use it for the first time. To activate your ticket, simply scan it at an electronic reader as you board the Vaporetto. For example, we purchased our 2-day ticket from a ticket machine at the airport, but we did not start using it until day 3 of our trip. In this case, our ticket's 2-day period didn't start until the moment we scanned it for the very first time. How long you should spend in Venice is highly subjective, depending on your interests, your budget, and the pace that you like to travel. Hopefully our video has shown you that you can easily fill 3 or 4 days, especially if you want to visit the likes of Burano. For us, I think that as we would have liked to have spent more time exploring the Cannaregio and Dorsoduro districts, another day or 2 would have been perfect. But we do like to spend a lot of time just walking around new places and taking it all in, so it all depends on your travel style. We already spoke about Cicchetti, but what about those other quick food options that are easy on the wallet? When in Venice, you can't beat fresh pasta to go. There are a few places where you can grab yourself a box of hearty spaghetti, but we went to Del Moro's. Choose your pasta type, sauce and toppings, and away you go. We shared a box of delicious al dente squid ink pasta with olives for €8. Seafood fans can also try fried fish in a cone. We got this hefty portion of mixed fish, shrimp and squid from Frito Inn for €8.50. Another popular option is tramezzini. These small crustless sandwiches are made with soft white bread that's completely stuffed to the brim with a whole variety of possible different fillings. Meat, fish, egg, we saw so many different types on offer. We particularly recommend trying the ones at Bar alla Tilletta in the Dorsoduro district, but you will find them everywhere. Venice might not be known for having the best pizza, but grabbing a slice while you're out and about is still a delicious option on the go. You typically pay either by weight or by the slice. Last but definitely not least is gelato. There is nothing better than a cold, creamy gelato to keep you going on a hot day. My next bit of advice would be to bring mosquito repellent. Mosquitoes love those beautiful canals just as much as we humans do, so if you're visiting in the warmer months, you could get bitten a lot. Free public toilets are not common in Venice and will usually cost you about €1.50, so take advantage of customer toilets when you visit restaurants, bars or museums. The tap water in Venice is perfectly safe to drink, so keep your eyes peeled for water fountains dotted around the city and top up your bottle whenever you see one. The cost of visiting Venice can vary massively depending on factors like where you stay, where you eat, and what activities you plan to take part in. According to budgetyourtrip.com, the average visitor spends around €230 per day for accommodation, food, local transport, entertainment and tours. For us, I would say that was about right. On this budget, we managed all the activities shown in this video, a small 3-star hotel that was walking distance from all the attractions, but not right in the heart of San Marco. And in terms of food and drink, we would usually have a small pastry and coffee for breakfast, then usually one restaurant a day, and then ciocchetti or to-go food for the rest of the day. The restaurants we went to were nice but not high-end. We would typically drink Prosecco or house wine, then for food we would usually have a main plus either an appetizer or dessert. I hope you found our travel guide helpful. We have a playlist of other destinations in Europe which I'll link here if you're looking for other ideas for your future travels. Thanks for watching.